This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it and qualify it through a variety of different times, people, places, things, experiences. But at its heart, at its core, you can define it by all things sports, all things culture, and all things Auburn family. And because it is about the family, we got to have some people, even if they're just awkwardly standing there in the background with their hands over their heart, almost like we're doing the Pledge of Allegiance, throwing me off during the intro. I'm your host, Kyle, back with me again, the best co-host in the land, even when he throws me off, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. War Eagle. I love this. It's going to be a brand new tradition. One of our viewers and listeners, WT, is put into our. We need to salute when you are doing the intro. It is an intro that is of lore, and I'm happy to put my hand over my little Auburn heart when you do it, sir.
Little bitty orange and blue beaten heart. I love it. Hey, listen. Worse traditions have started for much worse reasons. So I'm fine with it. You know, just I wasn't ready for it this time. See, this is the thing. Every time we do this show, Austin, I've always got to wonder what you're going to do, what you're going to pull out of like the side of the frame here that's going to mess me up. So I just got to be on my eight. Don't be pulling something out right now. And this is why we stress, folks. It's important for you to consume this content whenever way you can. But you are missing something if you're not here for the live show. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's an experience. It's the Auburn Experience podcast, but it's quite an experience. So when you need it,
that was the worst play off of the name. All right, look, we have got a lot to talk about in Auburn potpourri before we get into our main topics. Let's cut the crap. Let's get into it and talk about this. Let's start on a somber yet honoring note and talk about, I would argue, probably the biggest news of the week. The unfortunate, obviously, in terms of just the event, the passing of Terry Beasley, Auburn legend, number 88, arguably, probably very easy argument, greatest wide receiver for Auburn to this point. He is the only number retired for Auburn football without a Heisman Trophy attached to it of those three, which to me is kind of almost a special honor.
Yeah.
I've kind of set the table up for you, Austin, here about what makes this guy so great, but just in your own words, as we, several days past now, think about Terry Beasley and the sad event of his passing, but, wrapping everything up and honoring him, your thoughts about the great Terry Beasley.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously Kyle and I never watched Terry Beasley play. We never watched him receive touchdown passes from Pat Sullivan. But it's one of those names in Auburn lore that in Auburn history that you just has special meaning. Like Kyle said, the only non-Heisman Trophy winner to be retired with his number retired and on the side of the stadium. And so it's sad. The circumstances around it are sad. Everything, it looks to be a moment of grief for the Auburn family, and I was really sad to hear about it. I hope that there's a way to honor him, come in this upcoming year, this upcoming season. I think he's earned that. He's one of the names in Auburn history. One day, I'm sure we'll talk about our Auburn football Mount Rushmore, and I think he certainly has consideration for that.
He will be on it of the wide receiver variety when we get to the other bigger categories. We can discuss it, but wide receivers, he is on it.
Absolutely. And so it's interesting. I really, I'm not advocating for this. I'm not, one way or the other. I just thought it was a really neat idea if it were to happen. I think a statue, I would be interested in that. I think that, we've already said his guy's number retired and he didn't win a Heisman. If we wanted to extend that to say, if you get your numbered retired, you also get your statue. But I like the idea of someone pointed out, Pat Sullivan's statue is currently in a motion of throwing. If you were across the loop, over closer to the green space, it might be in the way some, but it was, him looking for the ball. I think that would be really cool and really special. If that were to be in the plan somehow. Regardless, Terry Beasley, absolutely one of the best Auburn players in history, and really sad to hear about his passing.
Yeah, listen, for me, a lot of these things, not to get all mushy tonight, but it goes back to my late father. I grew up hearing stories about Pat
Absolutely.
Sullivan and Terry Beasley, and every fable that Bo Jackson had about him. It seemed like there were also those fables for the greatness that was Terry Beasley during his time as a player. And so, obviously, very sad event. We will miss Terry, but he will never, ever be forgotten, especially by his Auburn family. Let's talk about some other news that dropped this week. We kind of anticipated this news because we did a whole segment about it last week and whether this was the right move going forward. But now we can officially talk about it. The Auburn University Board of Trustees has approved at least the first phase of approval if you read the fine print. And let me just back up a second. There's a lot of people that I think saw the news, but then start asking all these questions online, even to us. And I appreciate you asking the questions, but go read the article. All the answers are in the article. Like I was like, when is it going to be completed? It's in the article. When is, are they going to ever do seats? It doesn't say it point blank, but it basically says there's more to come in the article. So please do go check the article out so that you can understand why it's happening the way it is. But the news, a new video / scoreboard coming on the opposite end, the north end zone in Jordan-Hare Stadium, replacing the one that's been there since 1987.
Wow.
We gave some impressions about it, our opinions of it coming, but now that it's real, Austin, extra thoughts, new thoughts, anything?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting to see the dimensions, to see kind of what their thoughts are on what it'll look like. I love that the idea is to kind of set it up for future projects, as you said, that they mentioned. That, it's something that'll be able to sustain whatever else. Now, it wasn't specific. It wasn't specific if it'll be an upper deck or if it'll be, seats, luxury seats, whatever. But it is set up for set up for, hopefully it's successful, set up for, things around it in the future. So I love it. I like that it's smaller. It's still very big, but I like that it's smaller than the one adjacent to it. And I think it'll be really good. That is my side of the stadium currently where I sit. And so I'm very interested to see how the construction is through this season because it will be done before next season in 2025. So I'm interested to see how that works this year. I really hope that it kind of extends the concourse behind us.
And there's implications for that.
Yep. It is very just congested all over. So I love it. I love that it is, shows the potential for what could be coming soon. And I think we said this when John Cohen was hired as athletic director, but he has overseen a lot of facility upgrades and a lot of big time upgrades. And so this seems like another one for him. So I'm really excited and hopeful.
I think what I liked about the announcement was the acknowledgement of all the different questions, storylines that Auburn fans have had around this topic. And there wasn't anything left out, especially there's not a lot of reading between the lines that you have to do. They were very thorough in how they explain things. So again, I would encourage you, go read the article that was released on auburntigers.com so that you can get a sense of what this is, why it's this way, and what's coming. Concourse extension, future projects. What I like is this is being done in a methodical, thoughtful way and not just for the sake of adding seats. Like, that's great. That's cool. And some of y'all are way too obsessive about that, in my opinion. But you got to do it the right way and do it the way that is going to be the best benefit for Auburn overall. So the announcement's official. Now, all we got to do is just wait and see what it actually comes to fruition. Let's keep going on big topics. I mean, when you really think about it, Austin, this week was just full of big topics.
It was busy.
Started off the week. It is definitely a good thing, but it is also a controversial thing. The hiring of DJ Durkin as the defensive coordinator, a lot of conversation around that. In fact, and I want to give kudos and shout out to AJ Richardson of the No Huddle podcast here of taking initiative to go reach out to a Maryland friend that he had on previously for the bowl game. And, face the music for the bowl game, first of all, with that Maryland fan, but also to ask about the Maryland situation with DJ Durkin. For the sake of time, we're not going to get into all that. I'd encourage you to listen to that episode. But I want to give Austin especially a chance to voice anything that he'd like to about the hire, about the reaction to it, about the controversy around it, because I've said my piece 1,000 different ways, 1,000 times on the many things that we do here. But DJ Durkin hired, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was trending that way for a while, football-wise. Love it. I think he is an SEC known coordinator. It's going to help out Auburn's defense a lot. And I really hope, give some consistency and some longevity to the coordinator position. And that goes for offensive and defensive sides of the ball. Just hoping there's some continuity there.
Yep.
I get everything. I get people have questions. I also think that a lot of people only read headlines. As we've discussed, or as we just discussed with the video board, it's important to read articles, read context, and find out everything you can, I think, about before you at least publicly express your opinion on something. I think the DJ Durkin situation is very similar. So I definitely encourage everyone to listen to that episode, research this situation. Not saying you can't feel uneasy about it. Not saying you still can't feel a little concerned. Totally justified. Totally get it. I go back to, I think, Hugh Freeze as well as John Cohen and the Auburn administration. I said this when they hired Hugh Freeze. They have a lot riding on their jobs, and I think they have an extensive vetting process we know nothing about. So if that's the case, I'm good with it. The last thing I want is to see Auburn University in any capacity embarrassed, and I think that these people have the same mindset. So I'm excited, and I think he'll be a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah, hopefully going to be a great hire for results in the field, and hopefully this is going to be a nice big continuation of what hopefully is a redemption story for DJ Durkin here. And to be honest with you, I'm happy that Auburn gets to be a part of that potentially happening, and I think that's a great thing for Auburn when the dust settles out of all of this. At least that's what we hope for. And just kind of wrapping up in potpourri stuff, we want to mention this as well. Auburn had a very great and kind of unique meet for gymnastics this week, hosting a lot of HBCUs who are getting really involved with gymnastics. Fisk University was here. Talladega was here. There was supposed to be another one that I think had to drop out, and Temple took their place. I think if I remember Jeff Graba's interview with Andy this week, it's been several days since that, but that was cool. And there's just a lot of things that happened within this meet, the uniqueness of it, how cool it was to have all those teams together in a quad meet. Olivia Graves,
debut,
Greaves, I think is how you're supposed to say it, debut. And then the Talladega, the Fisk gymnast who got injured, but we've gotten a good report since then. So were you at the meet or?
Yes. Yeah. We took the boys. We're at the meet. Really cool, just to see a quad meet in person for one. I've never seen that in person. A lot of moving parts, a lot of has to be put on for that to work. So big props to the Auburn facility staff, because it was an incredible event to be at. But yeah, really cool with Black History Month to have that going on and to invite HBCUs. I kept thinking about how cool it is for some of these teams that they just haven't competed or in the front of this many people or in this, nice of a facility. And that's not
welcome to the jungle,
That's right. That's right. Not to say their facilities aren't nice, but to just say, I hope that it was a good experience for them to get to see that and to see the gymnasties doing, their thing. And so
is it, now that I'm thinking about it, is it still the jungle for gymnastics, or is it like a different name for the student section? Is it always the jungle no matter what?
I'm saying it's the jungle. I'm going it's the jungle.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. But I was like, I feel like, is there a different name we need to give for volleyball? Like, should there be because they called the Auburn Rowdies for the soccer games.
Sure.
Is what their names. And I know that's not the jungle. They're not in the jungle. But anyway, it's just a quick thought that popped in my head. I know I bulldozed.
Fair thought. But it was really cool. And I'm really glad that the Fisk gymnast, I can't remember her name, I apologize.
Yeah.
Is okay. It looked like it was all very precautionary, but it definitely was a somber moment when, for those that don't know, she fell off the bars in a very awkward way, and they ended up stretchering her out. But they did say that was precautionary and she's all right. So really glad to hear that. But overall, really cool event. From an Auburn standpoint, they did phenomenal. I think there was a lot of pressure that kind of came off of them just by getting to relax, be at home again. Olivia Greaves had an incredible debut, and it felt like from there they just took off. They had season records all over the place after her debut, and that was kind of the spark they needed. So really excited about that. I think that this team is really good. I keep telling Emily, the gymnastics is so much like SEC baseball and softball. Like, yes, we're top 15, but we might be bottom half of the SEC just because the league is so deep. So this was really good for this week for this program, and I'm excited for the future of it.
Yeah, very exciting week for gymnastics, exciting week and just busy week in general. And I'm sure that we didn't cover something that maybe you, the listener, the viewer, thought we should have during potpourri. But that's the nature of it. You never know what you get. I would say it's like a box of chocolates, but it's more like a bag of potpourri. That's the name of the show. Anyway,
well, so nicely done. Nicely done there.
We got two major topics coming up for you. Update for Auburn men's basketball for the last 2 weeks, and then a little bit of spring ball action of the softball variety. But first, we got to talk about our friends at Magic Mind, and I've been introducing them to you guys over the last several episodes, and you're going to continue to hear from them for the next several episodes. We are so happy about that, being partnered up with them. You know, when it comes to an option for you, if you are a fan of energy drinks, you know some of the great things about those, but you also know some of the negative things about those. You know, they're not so great for you. Sometimes they can give you a great rush, but at the same time, they can give you a big letdown at the end. Well, this particular option for you, Magic Mind, is one of the better options out there for you health-wise, but it's also going to help you be more productive, and it's got a more prolonged natural way of giving you that energy, that focus that you're looking for from some of those things. So please be sure to check them out. You want to visit magicmind.com/Auburn. That's a different link than the last couple of weeks, but magicmind.com/Auburn, and use the code Auburn, AUBRN, for 56% off the subscription, 20% off of a one-time purchase. And again, just to reiterate some of the benefits, if you are on any of these extra diets that require some restrictions, keto, paleo, vegan, if you have any allergies to certain things, or you're looking for something that is much more favorable in terms of sugar, those are some of the benefits of Magic Mind out there. So again, check them out, magicmind.com/Auburn. Use the code Auburn, 56% off that subscription, or 20% off that one-time purchase. We are going to talk about shooty ball, hoops, basketball. I'm going to just start naming a bunch of things and just see how excited it makes you. Jay Will, Mr. Jalen Williams.
Headband Jalen.
What's that? Headband Jalen.
Headband Jalen.
Headband Jalen. Katie Johnson ripping rims off. What else can I just name out that's going to get you super excited?
Chad Baker Mazzara lighting up the halftime speech.
CBM just, becoming the most underrated acquisition that was made by a head coach thus far this offseason, and now is clearly in the forefront of being one of the best ones. Have y'all noticed yet that Bruce Pearl is really good at finding diamonds in the rough and bringing a lot out of them? And he's not going to admit that. Like, that's Bruce Pearl. He'll take, I coach him, but he brings them here and puts them in this environment and they flourish. He's not going to take a lot of that credit, but let's be honest, you got to go find them and you got to do something with them. And it happens quite a bit, whether it's CBM, Jared Harper, the list goes. And then he goes out and gets the McDonald's All-Americans too. Aiden Holloway, Sharif Cooper. I'll keep going down the list. Jabari Smith, if you want me to do that. It's been fun. It has also been an up and down week. You and I haven't spent lengthy time talking about this in about 2 weeks, Austin. But give me your perspective of the last 2 weeks. A lot of bad to begin it, a lot of good this week. Where's your head out on this basketball team?
Yeah, I think, the week before this past one, 2 road losses we discussed in potpourri last week, just, disheartening losses. I think it was a tough road loss at Alabama that you had a nice comeback in, just couldn't finish it off. A Mississippi State loss where you thought they could get things corrected and just could never get over the hump. No pun intended. But then that's their basketball arena. I don't think anyone probably knows that. Never mind, forget it. I
was gonna let you go with it. You just, hey, there's this thing called an auger. I'm just watching you dig it.
I just butchered that.
Yes. But that's one of the great things about a live show.
That's right. And then this week, they get back home against Vanderbilt. You knew that them coming back home would mean a lot. You knew the being back in front of the jungle would mean a lot, and it did. They had a great performance, ended up destroying Vanderbilt, to sweep the season series. And then it was leading up into the Ole Miss game where they're going on the road again. We know that Ole Miss is going to sell it out, and we know that they're looking to get revenge on the beatdown we put on them here.
Mm-hmm.
And even through the first half, you're looking like, oh my gosh, this team cannot play on the road. They just cannot make shots. Did we peak too soon at Arkansas? Are there things that are, what is going on? How can we fix this? And I think it was one of those things where everybody collectively could have benefited from being in that halftime and here in CBM.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to do this anymore. We are going to calm down and recognize we are a good team and we just need to be us. And it showed in the second half of the Ole Miss game. They absolutely came out and dominated, shot 70% from the field, and trusted in who they are, and was able to come out with a big win, a quad one win on the road, something they desperately needed on their resume. And now you get back home this week, and then you go on the road again. And so I'm excited for where this team is at. I think they have confidence, not just from winning, but from winning on the road and showing themselves, even though we were down, we can do it. And we know we can play away from home and silence a lot of doubters. So this team is good. This team is still putting it together, and there are individuals still putting it together. But I really like where this team's head is at, because I think they're proving to themselves how good they are. I'm not worried they peaked too soon. I don't think they've peaked, period. But I think that they are moving in a very good direction, especially at the beginning of February.
What is often lost in conversations is it's not about what the struggle is that you went through and how it feels at the time, but it matters about what you do in response to that struggle.
That's right.
And after a very emotional, hard-fought loss to Alabama on the road, after a just confusing, confounding, frustrating loss at Mississippi State, it's okay to feel frustrated and to ask those questions, but it's all about how you handle it. And unfortunately, as we talked about, some of our fan base didn't know how to handle that. But what the team did is they said, all right, look, we can choose to get into each other's faces. We can get frustrated. We can blame each other, point fingers, or we can insert all that energy, negative energy, and direct it at everybody else. And they did it at Vanderbilt, who got swept for the season for the first time since I think it was 1989. So
wow.
That means 2 games in a season. We won both of them. Not first time since 1989. I didn't look it up for Ole Miss, but it happened. Season sweep for Ole Miss, their place and our place, just like Vanderbilt. What a response. I mean, you took care of 2 teams that you're going to see twice in the schedule, and both times you handled them pretty good. And one of those is where Ole Miss, has a pretty great environment from what it looks like. And then you get a big lead on us, but we just chip away. We come back, and then we build up a lead ourselves. To me, it was so encouraging to watch what happened individually for a lot of those players in the game, but also for team-wise in Ole Miss. And I hope, you point to a moment in a season or in whatever sport it is, Austin, like, people, for instance, in 2013 will point to that LSU football game was the turning point leading to the national championship appearance. I got a feeling we're going to be pointing to this Ole Miss game. Is that a big step out, or man? Like,
no, I think that makes a lot of sense.
To me, I feel like this is where, at least for the players, they're going to look back to that night in New Orleans, start quoting Pat Dye here on the show and gain a little strength from it. It'll help you down the road.
Well, and same thing for that Final Four team. When Chuma Okeke hit that 3 in Georgia, and they didn't lose again until the Final Four, when they shouldn't have, when they got it robbed from it.
Yeah. Don't bring that up.
Those are the kind of the plays and the types of play you look at on where this team might make a magical run. And that Ole Miss game certainly could be it.
Yeah. And here's the thing about this team right now. We've got so many players doing things they don't typically do. And it's easy to focus on CBM. It's easy to focus on Jalen, which I'm so happy about. It's easy to focus on start throwing the names up. But I want to give a shout out to KD Johnson. And we tweeted this out during the game, and I still got a lot of response to it, good response to it, but I still don't think people appreciate what KD has done this season. He is still his psycho self. Like you saw the end of the game with the technical.
Loved
again.
It.
I wish as a coach and a professional he hadn't, but I'm fine with it. Listen.
Rock that rim, baby. I'm totally
the
fine
head
with
motions. That. The head motions just there, just sold that whole phrase.
Boom.
I'm just so happy with this kid because so many times he's been so ready to just do his little quick dribble through the legs and then throw up a 3-pointer. And there was one moment where he kind of does that and then just jolts his head to the side and finds the man in the corner. I think it was CBM who nails a 3-pointer. And that's just one instance. And that's just one player. But there are, Jalen Williams becoming assertive, aggressive. This team is it's a team. And I know that's redundant for me to say that, but it's so nice to see that.
Well, and in this day and age where you have to bring in a lot of guys from high school or the portal every year, it feels like you're entering or you're piecing together these acquisitions in the offseason with guys who are still there, and you're trying to figure out how they're going to mesh on the court and off the court. Off the court, they look like they're having a ton of fun. They always look like they're cracking up on the bench. They always look like they're, all the videos we see from Auburn men's basketball look like they're just goofing off. But having fun together, and on the court they're working so well. Every time we play, we see the minutes breakdown of how even it is, but also how many different lineups are able to be there, and nobody's worried. We have talked about this ad nauseum. No one's worried about getting their minutes. No one's worried about getting their numbers, and it just works. I think that I have loved Chad Baker-Mazara because I think he fits the mold perfectly of this team. He is just feisty enough and just absolutely psycho enough, but he backs it up with his play, and then he's hyping his teammates up. I think this team it's more fun to pull for than I thought it would be. Not because I thought they'd be, statues out there, but just because you can see how good the ball movement is, how much they work together. And I think that's going to take them far. That means a lot in the world of college basketball. And once we get closer to the end of the season.
Yeah. Big week here of response, big week of energy. And of course, the thing everybody's been focused on, you got your quad 1 win. Everybody breathe a collective sigh of relief. I wonder what will be the next over focus that we'll have on this team at some point. But for now, folks, settle in. Plenty of basketball left to be played. Still going to be a roller coaster ride in the SEC this year, as it is most years these days, and most every sport, as you could probably imagine in the SEC. But excited where we're at as a team, and we'll continue to talk about them here. It is spring. It is time to go to the garage, get your gloves out, start kind of loosening them up a little bit. If you got you an aluminum bat somewhere, because we do that.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about your gloves for yard work.
Well, I mean, that's what I should be doing when we finally get some good weather. But will I? That's the good question. No, I am talking about your, baseball mitts, but for the purposes of our segment here, softball mitts.
Our hitball sports.
Hitball sports. Diamond sports, spring ball, whatever analogy, whatever phrase, nickname you want to use, it is here, folks. And as always the case, softball gets started just before baseball, which I kind of like, to be honest with you. I kind of like they're staggered. That way we don't have to have too much going on in that opening weekend for softball or that opening weekend for baseball. Yeah. So our focus for this week is this Auburn softball team led by Coach Mickey Dean, who's been here for quite a while now. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of people are shocked in that sense too, because there's been a few ups and downs, but to me, he inherited quite a bit of a chore, because this is a team that had a lot of success, had a little bit of controversy and scandal, and trying to weather the storm. And then COVID happened, and you shouldn't make certain decisions during COVID because things happen and you get to places in a program that you shouldn't be. Anyway, that decision wasn't made with this program, and now they're still competitive. I'm going to leave it there. Auburn softball 2024. We can handle this preview whatever way you want, Austin. But just maybe opening thoughts from you about what you're feeling, what you're thinking about for this upcoming softball season.
There's a lot to like about this team. There's a lot of questions, I think, that are fair. This team lost Bree Ellis, as we well know.
Yep.
She is at Arkansas now, a team we will face. This team has Maddie Pinta back.
The phenom.
Yes.
Phenom.
Okay.
Yes.
You scared me just for a second because you didn't say anything. And I was like, I
was
researched, but I'm pretty sure
when Maddie Pinta's name gets said, you just leave it like the open air because it's
enough.
Maddie Pinta. I'm Maddie Pinta, right? I mean, like, come on.
So you have to feel good about that no matter what. Softball is all about if you got a stud and you got an ace, you're going to be okay. No matter how where else your question marks are. So they've got Maddie Pinta, and then it's been an infusion of talent from Mickey Dean and getting who he wants in the program. It was a really good freshman recruiting class.
Yep.
And this team has pieces that it looks like Mickey Dean has wanted, and I think we're gonna hopefully see it all put together. It's a really good schedule. You got a bunch of home games that are favorable.
Yep.
And then Kyle, I didn't even realize this. I don't know how I missed this until this researching it, but this is the year Auburn hosts the SEC tournament, and that's super exciting. Yes, we want Auburn to be competitive. It'd be absolutely awesome if they are competitive, and it's here on the plains. But also that is just a super fun thing to have close to you. I think the past few years when the SEC softball tournaments come around, I've been like, when is it going to be our turn? Because that looks awesome to be a part of.
Yeah.
And it is this year. So you have that to look forward to. That should be extra motivation for this team. Kyle, really the only thing, I just don't want to play Clemson in a regional. I think that is a low bar, but that is the bar I'm at because we have talked about that the last 2 years, and I do not want to play or go to Clemson for a regional.
Well, Austin, I'm afraid to tell you, sir.
No.
Yes, Austin, I'm so sorry to report to you that we will play number 7 Clemson on Saturday, February 17th.
Well, that's fine.
Okay,
I don't want to go there for a regional.
Okay, as long as we don't go there, as long as we're not seeing them in the postseason,
they can come here. I would prefer they not, because we don't need to play those backwards cousins from Clemson every single sport every year. But I would prefer not to go to Clemson and drive over that lake just to play a softball game in a regional again.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Look, this is going to be a fun year, I think, for a variety of reasons. Yes, you have, as is typical, Auburn hosts a lot of early season tournaments, especially with a lot of smaller teams, but then some good competition too. They're going to Mexico to play in a little bit of round robin style thing. So Bruce Pearl was a world tour with his basketball team in recent years, and so has other teams as well. But we're going to Mexico with the softball team this year. In keeping with what you just brought up about the SEC softball tournament coming, you've seen a lot of investments into the program. They did a lot of work that I think was missed about, I know this sounds gross, but it's the reality of drainage and stuff for the softball field that really needed some infrastructure improvements. And they've done those in the last several years. They just got a new locker room and kind of team facility that's conjoined there with the gymnastics team at the McWhorter Center. I think I've got that right, the name of it.
Yep.
And so there's been a lot of investments in the program. And so now is the time, if you're going to host an event like that, which, folks, it's going to be a lot of people here. I hope you know.
Tons.
We have a great facility, but I don't know that you're prepared for the level of excitement and energy that's going to be there for softball. So I definitely will try my best to be there that weekend and kind of take in the atmosphere, at least for a day. And I would recommend that you all do so as well. But in terms of a schedule preview or something like that, not going to go through every single game here, but several, I think 3, maybe 4, 3 at-home tournaments to start off the season. And then you will get into your traditional, and it's not the same every single week, but the typical SEC 3-game series on the weekend, and then a midweek matchup most of the time with a regional team like your UABs, your Troys, things like that. But let me just throw out some teams that we're going to see that of note. Clemson, number 7 Clemson right now. I know. Virginia Tech, very first game of the year with the opening day. Virginia Tech
number becoming a common opponent with Auburn.
I know.
It's only one other time, but I mean.
Hey, if we're talking about common opponents with Auburn, here you go again. Northwestern, number 25.
Oh.
Coming. Yes, I know. So those are probably your big names in non-conference play. Those are your ranked ones right now. But you have got, let's talk about the ones at home, big matchups. You got Arkansas, Bree Ellis coming back to Auburn. How are we feeling about Bree Ellis? Because she was quite a character when she was here, and I'm a little hurt. I'm gonna be honest.
It stinks and it stings a little bit. I think that she is going to be trying to launch some Bree bombs when she comes back, and I hope that it's not too bad, too poorly of a reception for her. But hey, she is on the other side, and she's an SEC foe now, so that'll be a big motivation game, I'm sure, for everybody involved.
It's kind of like with Alan Flanagan. I want there to be a certain level of respect, but unfortunately, when the game starts, it's all over. I mean, come on. We don't wish true ill will on you, but we wish ill will in terms of like that you strike out every single bat. That you maybe miss a bag when you're running or something like that.
Yeah,
those type of things. No injuries, none of that. All good natured stuff here. That's one to definitely keep on your radar. At home versus number 2 currently, Tennessee. That's going to be a humongous matchup. You got Texas A&M, who's currently ranked 24th. Look, you're just going to hear this a lot. SEC teams being ranked 15th for LSU. Alabama to end the season at home. At home, folks. And then remember, the week after that, SEC tournament. So basically, let me make sure I have the dates. The 2nd of May through the 4th is Alabama. You take a few days off, and then everybody's coming back to town that's going to be in the tournament and being here. Probably will be Alabama too, because they're usually pretty good. It's just going to be a fun-filled season. Even without a superstar like Bree Ellis, others have opportunities to rise to the occasion. We still got Maddie Pinta. Hey, here's the funny thing, Austin. Have we ever, like, in an inter-squad meeting, heard about a matchup between Maddie and Bree, like how that's gone before?
I haven't.
I'm gonna put my money on Maddie Pinta.
Oh, always give. I mean, outside of Maddie Pinta being Maddie Pinta, I'm giving my edge to the pitcher anyway.
Right.
But Maddie Pinta should know her, right? Now, granted, you could say the other thing or way around. Bree should know Maddie, but that will be a matchup that all eyes will be on, and I'm excited. I think we're going to see J&B Moorfield packed out a lot this season, and that team needs that. They deserve that.
Would you say there's going to be more roar this season? Something like that? Something? That wasn't too bad. More roar? J&B more roar? That was bad, wasn't it? I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit.
About that.
I know. Look, so we a long time ago had a softball show here at E2C Network, and I miss having that to some extent, because I remember us going through the naming process for it, and we just couldn't really come up with anything. And I wanted to make more roar work, but it's like it doesn't roll off the tongue.
It doesn't. I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't.
Nor does it work with jokes, as you just found with my co-host. I left you hanging earlier. You left me hanging. We're even now.
There we go. Okay.
That's just how it's going to go. So softball season is here, folks. Obviously, we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be talking about baseball as we get further and further in the spring. Strap it up, boys and girls. Stickball, diamond sports.
Stickball. That's what I was going for earlier. I like that. I like stickball.
Laces and whatever ball. We'll be talking all of that this off season as we continue our coverage of that as well. That's going to do it for episode 65 of the Auburn Experience podcast. As always, we appreciate you being here. If you want to keep up with us, find me over at Twitter X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they keep up with you, sir?
At Austin G. Scott on X, Instagram, all the things.
All the different things. And we appreciate you all being here, whether you watched the live stream, whether you caught the audio, or both, because I know some of you do that. We always appreciate you being here, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.